Something big happened in the publishing world last month in March 2024 that has had and will continue to have a devastating impact on small publishers in the United States. Small Press Distribution, or SPD, was a nonprofit distributor for roughly 400 small publishers. And in March, they suddenly shut down operation, basically without warning. So why is this a huge problem for small publishers? First of all, it's helpful to know what a book distributor is in the publishing industry. And I am an outsider in the publishing world. So these are just my general understandings of what a book distributor does. A book distributor is a company or an organization that works with publishers to help those publishers sell their books to bookstores, to libraries, sometimes to schools, and sometimes even directly to consumers as well. Those services there's a wide range of services that are involved in that process. But one thing that's been helpful for me to think about kind of the importance of book distributors in the book world is a comment that I saw, I think, on a publisher's website, that bookstores don't have the capacity to work with every single publisher that there is. There are just way too many publishers out there. I mean, Small Press Distribution alone had 400 publishers that they worked with, and bookstores just cannot have relationships with every single one of the publishers that put out the books that are on their shelves. So they need a distributor who has a catalog that they can provide to bookstores that, has the seasonal, the new releases, and has all of the books from all the publishers that they work with. And so bookstores really, as one example of the importance of distributors, one big example, bookstores absolutely need to have these relationships with distributors to be able to efficiently find the books that they want to sell to their customers. So there are a number of distributors in the United States, for example, and they range in size. So other example distributors include Ingram, which I think is maybe the biggest distributor in the US. And it's also just, as an aside, where Small Press Distribution, I think, ended up shipping all of the stock of all the books that they had to Ingram. So those books are presumably sitting in a warehouse, one of Ingram's warehouses at this point. So there's Ingram, which is a huge book distributor. There's also other distributors that I'm aware of based on kind of the research that I've done into independent publishers, and that includes Publishers Group West, which distributes books for a lot of the independent publishers that I love the most, but a lot of those publishers seem to be, if not bigger, maybe more established or have more of a national presence. So that includes like Milkweed and $2 Radio, and Grove, I think, also works with Publishers Group West. There's also a distributor called Independent Publishers Group that also works with a very large range of publishers. And then Norton. Norton is a publisher and a large independent publisher, but they also serve as a distributor for a small number of publishers as well. And that includes publishers like New Directions and Akashic Books and Tin House. So fun little aside story, I get advanced reader copies from Tin House. It's the only publisher I get ARCs from, actually. And I am always so confused when I get a package in the mail that says it's from Norton because I'm like, I didn't order books from Norton. Is Norton like sending me books now? And then every time I open it up and it's ARCs from Tin House because Norton is their distributor. And so the actual books are sitting at Norton. They're shipped from Norton. And so the label says it's from Norton, and it always confuses me. But so that's an example of what a distributor does. And then in a minute, I'm going to mention another exciting distributor that's a bit newer on the scene as well. But a lot of these distributors charge like fees to the publishers, and they have certain requirements. For example, maybe like the size of the publisher that they work with, or just various requirements of the publishers that they will be the distributor for. And Therefore, it actually eliminates a lot of the smallest publishers from being able to work with those distributors. So my understanding is that small press distribution was one of the only options for really small publishers who were putting out like a couple books a year, maybe not even that many, maybe a book every couple years. Small press distribution was like their only option for a distributor. SPD was also one of my go-to resources to find new books coming out from the smallest publishers. Their website felt a little outdated, but it was super easy to use nonetheless. And so I would go there and look for, sort by release date and be able to find books that I don't know how else I would have found them other than going to like hundreds and hundreds of publishers' websites to find new releases, right? That was an extremely convenient way for me to go to one place online where I knew I could find information about books being published by really small, independent publishers. But apparently things weren't going super well for SPD for quite some time. And I've been poking around a lot of these publishers' websites, and some of them have blogs and newsletters where they've been sharing little details here and there of things that they noticed that made them kind of concerned that things weren't going super well for SPD. Things like warehouse changes, like locations, and changes in leaderships and late payments. So perhaps some things foreshadowing what eventually happened, which was suddenly in March, SPD just completely shut down. They sent an email, I believe, to their publishers saying, we're shut down. Your books have been shipped here. You can contact, I think it was Ingram, you can contact someone there to find your books. But publishers were more or less left not knowing exactly where their books were and had trouble getting in contact with people to be able to tell them where their books were. And some of them had outstanding payments from small press distribution that were owed to them. Those publishers might never receive those payments. And if they do, it'll probably be a long time coming because whatever is left of SPD's remaining assets has to actually go through court to be able to allocate whatever is left amongst, the publishers who are owed money. So it might never come, and if it does come, it'll probably be a while. And remember, these are small publishers who cannot afford losses like that. Some have started GoFundMe campaigns. Some have been encouraging their readers to buy directly from the publisher's websites, which is always a great option if you're looking to buy from a small publisher. If you buy directly from the small publisher's website, if they let you do that, some of them don't, but if they let you, then more of the money will be going to the publisher and to the authors, and there won't be a chunk of it going to a distributor, right? So if you are interested in supporting a particular publisher, you might want to check out whether you can buy a book directly from their website. So that's one of the things they were encouraging people to do, but they only have so much stock on hand, right? Because they sent their books to SPD, so they can only sell whatever they still have, is my understanding. There were a ton of small publishers that I was interested and still am interested in getting to know better, and I want to list a few of those here just to kind of share some of the ones that jumped out to me, but I almost feel guilty doing that because, again, there were 400 of these publishers, and there is no way. One, I can't even research into every single one to see what they're all about. Two, a lot of them don't fit me as a reader. A lot of them do, but a lot of them don't. And so I feel guilty picking and choosing which ones to talk about here. I'm going to do it anyway, but I'm also going to leave a list below and linked below that you can go to that's a full list of the publishers that worked with small press distribution or were distributed by SPD. So you can check it out yourself if you feel so inclined. But I do also want to note that a lot of these publishers have already found new distributors. And one of those distributors that I didn't mention previously that I want to mention now is called Asterism. This is a distributor that was just founded in 2021, and they have attempted to build a model that is fairer to both publishers and to booksellers, like when compared to other distributors that are working with publishers and booksellers. So I'm going to read to you what some of the things they say on their website. So it says, Asterism Books is an online bookstore and trade distributor for books by independent presses. We aim to work with both booksellers and publishers to forge a more sustainable path for small press publishing, emphasizing transparency, communication, and collaboration. So then they go into detail about some of the things that they do and do not do that build this more sustainable model for small presses and for booksellers. And they don't have some of the same fee structures as some of these distributors do. So they're more of a viable option, is my understanding, for smaller presses. And then they also say right on their website, we offer near immediate payouts to our publishers. So I think that is a reflection on maybe what small press distribution wasn't able to do there towards the end, is provide timely payouts to these small presses that really need that money like in quick order, because it's not like they're sitting on a lot of cash to go back to. So in the wake of small press distribution's closure, Asterism stepped up and said that they were ready to take on up to 100 new publishers. I've seen several already listed on their website that were with small press distribution and have now moved over to Asterism. And I'll say their website is really great. I find it really pleasing to peruse. It looks a lot more fresh and updated than maybe some other distributors' websites. So I've really enjoyed exploring their website. Every YouTube video is supposed to have a call to action, right? So usually that is a plea to subscribe to the channel. But instead of doing that, I am going to ask you to visit the list of publishers that previously worked with small press distribution. And this is no small ask to ask you to go explore this list, because there are no descriptors on this list. There's no way to know what kind of publishers each of these publishers are until you click and see their website and see if they interest you. And I guarantee you there's going to be a lot of publishers on here that are not up your alley. So it's kind of a big ask, but I think it's fun nonetheless. So that's what I'm going to ask of you today, is to explore that list and just, at the very least, familiarize yourself with some of these really cool small presses that are out there that, if we want them to survive, they do need our help immediately. So I think spreading the word and just even raising awareness of some of these publishers is a good first step. Okay, so what publishers previously distributed by small press distribution have been intriguing me lately? Some of these have already moved over to new distributors, but that information isn't always easily available, so I'm not going to share it here. I'm just going to talk about some of these publishers. So first up is Black Lawrence Press. Black Lawrence Press is a publisher that I mention quite often. They have really cool poetry collections, among many other genres. They also offer writing workshops as well, and they're located in upstate New York, or at least they were founded in upstate New York. Their location is in the land between two rivers, the Black River and the St. Lawrence River, which is why they are called Black Lawrence Press. Bull City Press is an independent small press that's based in North Carolina, and one of the cool things about Bull City is that they are entirely volunteer run in order to keep their costs low. So they're staffed entirely by volunteers, which is quite remarkable. Game Over Books is a cool publisher that's based in Boston, and they say they're run by nerdy artists, and their mission is to print books from diverse voices that push creative writing forward into the next level, capital next level. I love that. June Road Press has beautiful looking books and a beautiful website. They have some poetry collections that have stood out to me that I had wanted to check out. I believe this is one of the presses, and there might have been others I previously mentioned, but that has already moved over to Asterism. Just a beautiful looking publisher. Mason Jar Press is located in Baltimore, Maryland. Yeah, they just have cool, edgy looking books here. I don't know. There was one recently called After the Rapture that I just, like, the cover is just so different. It stood out to me. Noemi Press is one of the small publishers that has been on my radar the longest of all of these. I have always admired the books that they publish. I think they do amazing work. They recently had a GoFundMe. Black Lawrence Press also had a GoFundMe, but I think they reached their goal. I'm not sure if Noemi has reached their goal yet, but maybe check that out. And they strive to introduce voices that might otherwise be marginalized by mainstream presses to a broader audience. And they, on their website, share that they have been a historically brown and queer press since their founding in 2002. Rose Metal Press is a publisher I have been saying since I started this channel that I have wanted to grab some of their books, and I need to get on that. And they also have a GoFundMe campaign right now as they try to bridge the gap in this really difficult time. They have really cool, they call them field guides. So kind of like writing craft books, but about flash work. So flash fiction, flash nonfiction, a lot of graphic literature focus. So they're an independent publisher of hybrid genres is their whole thing is hybrid. Hybrid work. Rescue Press has always stood out because they have this like image of this flapping, I don't know if it's like a phoenix or something, some kind of bird rescuing a man. I just like going to their website just to watch this thing. But they also have really cool sounding books as well, including this commentary on the birds, which I mentioned a while back. It's a nonfiction book about the Korean demilitarized zone. Tupelo Press is, I believe, a literary press. Oh, so they do publish fiction. So I know them for their poetry, but it says here they publish fiction as well, and they were founded in 2001. It's just a really well-respected literary press. Now, it says fostering the literary arts since 1999, but it released its first 5 books in 2001. And then finally, one that has stood out to me for a little while that I also think has already moved over to Asterism as their distributor is Spurl Editions. And there was this one book, The Formation of Calcium, that I know I mentioned on my channel a little while back that sounded super interesting. So I think maybe it's about time that I check that one out. But there's too many books and not enough time. Oops, I missed one. Ellipsis Press. I know I want to mention Ellipsis Press because there is a book on here that I mentioned a really long time ago that has just lived on in my brain for so long, and that's Love Chronicles of the Octopodes. And I don't even know if you can get it anymore at this time because of the distribution issues. But this was about a future time when Emily Dickinson was cloned. She somehow, instead of being cloned into a human, is cloned into an octopus. And so it's the mind of Emily Dickinson in an octopus. What? Yes. I have not forgotten. I shared that one of the really early videos when I was doing like new books from small presses. It sticks in my brain. So if you subscribe to my newsletter, you might have noticed that the March edition of the newsletter is very delayed, and that's for multiple reasons. Most of them personal, because this is like the busiest month of the year for me at work, and there's also been a lot of very personal things going on as well that have delayed that newsletter. But then one of the other reasons that it's been taking me so long is because I've been trying to figure out how to deal with this small press distribution closure within that newsletter, and if there's a way to highlight books that are being published still, but I feel like a lot of them are probably still in limbo. So anyway, that's why the newsletter has been so delayed. If you're not subscribed, it's basically what I do is I try to track down books that were published by independent publishers in the last month and send a big long list. Usually it's like 40 books that have stood out to me, look interesting to me, and then I email that out as a newsletter with links and little snippets about each book as well. Anyway, if you're interested, check it out. Know that the March newsletter is going to be very delayed and probably won't come out for a while yet. But it will arrive because I have been tracking all these amazing books that have been published by independent publishers back in the month of March. It's there, it exists, but I just need to figure out how to put it all together. If you do check out that list of publishers that previously distributed by small press distribution and any of them stand out to you, I hope you'll mention it in the comments below. My name is Sarah. Thank you so much for joining me and continuing to join me on this journey of exploring independent publishers. I'm really grateful for your time and your attention. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.